Okay. So let's see here. Making comparisons. Here we have, do you know him? Do you know this guy?
Yes.
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 Here we have one famous phrase or famous quote from him. The more I learned, the more I realize how much I don't know. Okay? So we are going to learn how to do this kind of comparisons. As you can see in this quote, he's using comparisons. Okay, so let's pay attention to the lesson. Here we have some sentences. That was the most exciting movie I've ever seen. The older you get, the slower you run. My students are smarter and smarter every day. This is the most disgusting dish I've ever tried. The better the teacher explains, the more the students will understand. Lucas is getting taller and taller. Okay? So as you can see in all these sentences, we are using comparatives and superlatives. Okay? And we are going to learn how to use them to make comparisons. Okay? Here we have the three structures that we are going to use. For example, in the first one, we have comparative and comparative. Okay, do you remember how do we form the comparatives? How do we form the comparatives? What is the essential part of a comparative? ¿Qué es lo más importante de un comparativo? Any ideas? Lo más importante de un comparativo, ¿qué es? ¿Cómo formamos los comparativos? ¿Con qué?
More plus.
With adjective.
With adjectives, very good. The most important thing about comparatives are the adjectives, because without adjectives, we don't have comparatives and we don't have superlatives, right? And we have certain rules for comparatives. For example, when we have a short adjective, a one-syllable adjective, what do we have to do to change this to the comparative form?
Add E and R
Very
at
good.
the end of the word.
Very good. We need to add ER at the end of the word. Very good. And what about when we have long adjectives? Y no nos olvidemos de than. When we have long adjectives,
We use more.
more, very good. More plus the adjective. The adjective doesn't change. El adjetivo no cambia para nada. Y luego tenemos than, ¿cierto? Estas son las reglas más básicas de los comparativos. Y luego para los superlativos, the superlatives. What do we do? How can we form the superlatives? The short superlatives,
With EST.
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 But we need
E
the at the beginning,
ST.
right? The, and in the adjective we add EST, right? And what about the long adjectives?
The most.
Most.
The most and an adjective, right? So these are the basic rules for superlatives and adjectives, okay? If you want to check the rules and you are not sure if you know them or you don't know them, I have some videos in the YouTube channel so you can check them, okay? Tengo unos videos de los superlatives y los comparatives que son de nivel 7. Pueden revisarlos si quieren revisarlos más a fondo. También hay otros de niveles más bajos donde los explico más detalladamente. ¿Ok? Pero estas son las reglas generales. Si quieren revisarlo, pueden hacerlo. Si ustedes piensan que todavía les falta un poquito mejorar en los superlativos y los comparativos. ¿Ok? So, In the next rule, in the next structure, we have the, a comparative, plus the, and a comparative. And in the last rule, we have a superlative and the present perfect. So we are going to match all these structures with the sentences that we have on the right. Okay, for example, the first rule, comparative and comparative. Which of the sentences can we match with this structure?
The last.
The last
And
one,
the
Lucas
second
is
one.
getting taller and taller. The second one? No, I don't think so.
No, no.
Third.
The third one,
Third.
right? The students
Third.
are smarter and smarter every day. Very good. So we have here these two sentences. What about the comparative and the comparative? Which of them?
The second one, teacher.
The second one, right? The older you get, the slower you run. Any other?
And the
Before
the teacher explains.
The better the teacher explains, the more the students will understand, right? Very good. And of course, for the last structure, superlative plus the present perfect, we have this one, right? That was the most exciting movie I've ever seen. And this is the most disgusting dish I've ever tried. Okay, as you can see, we are using the structure comparative and comparative. The same here, comparative and comparative. In the second structure, we have the older, the slower, the comparative, the comparative. In this one, the same, the better, the more. Comparative, the comparative, and the comparative. And in the last one, we have the superlative, the most exciting. And in the last part, we have the present perfect, I've ever seen. The same here. We have the superlative, the most disgusting, and the present perfect, I've ever tried. Okay, so we are going to use these structures to make our sentences. Okay, let's go to the book and we are going to complete the grammar panel here. Making comparisons. Let's try this one. Exercise number 1 here. Read sentences A to C from the article. Match them to 1 to 3 in the grammar panel. Number 1, many believe he is the funniest sprinter the world has ever seen. B, the most determined and motivated you are, the more successful you will be. Ochoa spent hours practicing to become more and more accurate. So we are going to use these sentences to complete the grammar panel, okay? Let's go to the grammar panel. Making comparisons. Comparatives with and. We link two comparatives with and to show that something becomes progressively greater in quality or in quantity. So we link two comparatives. Unimos dos comparativos. ¿Con qué lo unimos? Con and. ¿Para qué? Y aquí tenemos la razón. Cuando queremos mostrar que algo se convierte mejor, ¿ok? Cada vez mejor, ¿ok? En calidad o en cualidad. ¿Cuál de los ejemplos ustedes piensan que podríamos poner acá?
Sentence C.
three, C,
Sentence C, ¿ok? Ochoa spent hours practicing to become more and more accurate. Very good. Sentence C, right? Let's go to the next one. We use more and more or less and less. Or we can use the ER, como dijimos anteriormente de cómo formábamos los comparativos, ¿recuerdan? Podríamos utilizar cualquiera de estas. More and more, less and less, o los comparativos con ER. ¿Ok? Cualquiera de estas formas. Por ejemplo, more and more difficult, less and less energetic, happier and happier. Cualquiera de estas tres formas pueden ser aplicadas en esta estructura. ¿Ok? Let's go with the next one. Comparatives with the and the. We use the, marcarlo, plus two comparatives. With more or less. También utilizamos more or less. O también podríamos utilizar los que terminan en ER. To show that the second part of the sentence is the result of the first. ¿Ok? Para mostrar que la segunda parte es el resultado de la primera. Vamos a ver cuál ejemplo podríamos ocupar aquí.
B.
Sentence B.
B. The more determined and motivated you are. Aquí en realidad estamos, bueno, está bien. The more determined and motivated you are, the more successful you will be. ¿Ok? Entonces sí ocupamos comparativos con de. Y aquí también comparativos con de. ¿Ok? Let's go with the superlative. Superlative plus the present perfect. We use the superlative plus the present perfect to compare a person or event to our experience up to now. Entonces, desde esa vez, desde que vimos esa película o desde que conocimos a esa persona hasta ahora. ¿Ok? Por eso es que utilizamos el presente perfecto. Recuerden que utilizamos el presente perfecto cuando estamos hablando de una acción que empieza en el pasado y continúa hasta el presente o tiene un resultado en el presente, ¿cierto? Entonces, por ejemplo, aquí tenemos la oración número 1. The funniest sprinter the world has ever seen. Entonces, desde la vez que lo vieron hasta ahora, este es el resultado que tenemos. ¿Ok? Any questions? Any doubts?